PDAC 2023 here in Toronto, and we are at the lunch presentation of MAG Silver, and I have the pleasure and honor to be here with MAG Silver's CEO George Paspalas. Hi George, how are you?
I'm well. Yourself, Tim?
Very good, thanks. How was the lunch event, and how was the show so far?
Good. The lunch was very well attended, and we had we had some of our analysts here. We had a number of shareholders, a lot of investors actually, and we're pretty excited today because we've made our first batch of concentrate from the Juanicipio plant.
Oh,
yeah, and so
great.
we had a nice video running of that, and some pictures of that, and dollar signs coming off the end of it.
Oh, that sounds good.
High grade
Cool.
silver concentrate. So yeah, exciting lunch.
So you mentioned you successfully started the ramp up phase at Juanicipio. What are the concrete plans for the ramp up phase, and when do you expect to reach full capacity?
Okay, so Fresnillo as the operator have been doing a good job commissioning, ramping up the plant. We are getting good runs now at 75 to 85% of the nameplate. Our public guidance is that we will reach 100% of our nameplate, which is 4,000 tonnes per day, in the third quarter of this year. So we're getting there, and I think that there's a good chance that we will achieve that guidance. And we have to make the operation steady state, and then push it, see where the bottlenecks are, see if there are small projects we can do to maybe increase that throughput or that nameplate, because we've invested the capital, and if you can get 10% more, most of the capital is invested, so it's high value expansion dollars. So that'll be the focus probably for the next 18 months.
Okay. So are there any surprises in rock quality or grades, or is it like you expected it?
That's a good question. The mine is designed on a mining method called long hole stoping. And what we found in the northwest corner of the mine, the mineralization, that the ground conditions were a lot poorer than what we thought, but the rock wasn't as strong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's because it's had a lot of fluids flowing through it that put the metal there. And so we had to modify the mining technique. And in that area, we're using a method called cut and fill, which is a lot better in the poorer ground. It's a little more expensive, but it's for a short period. And now we've found some additional resources there that weren't in the model. About 100,000 tonnes, so it's significant. And because of the poor rock quality, hence high grade, it's over 1,000 grams per tonne of silver head grade, which is like, okay, this is a bit different to the plan, but this turned out to be very positive.
Yeah. Okay, so besides the ramp up, what are concrete plans for 2023?
Well, we have some applications for exploration permits in place with the authorities in Mexico, and two of those are to drill what we believe could very well be another Valdecanes, another fluid upwelling zone. And one of those is adjacent to where Fresnillo has been operating a high-grade mine for a number of years. So both of us, Fresnillo and ourselves, are excited to get that permit and drill there. So if that permit comes through this year, we'll have some really good grassroots new target drilling on the property. Remember, on the Juanicipio property, emerging tier 1 silver producer, we've only explored 5% of the surface area of the property. And we believe that there's more Valdecanes type upwelling zones on the property. So when we get those permits, we really will be excited to drill that. We have an exploration property in Utah called Deer Trail, and we just released a discovery of a brand new zone at Deer Trail.
The Carissa Zone?
Carissa, yeah. And Carissa's important because the whole model of Deer Trail is what we call hub, like in the wheel,
Yeah.
and spokes.
Hub and spoke. Yeah.
And the analog for that is the Bingham Canyon mine, which sits on the same fault structure to the north. And 100 years ago, Bingham Canyon was a high-grade silver MAG.TO mine. And then they started mining the porphyry in recent times. Bingham Canyon's one of two man-made structures on the surface of the Earth you can see from outer space.
Okay.
So it's not insignificant. So the old Deer Trail mine, which is where a lot of people historically focus their exploration, was one known spoke. Carissa's a new spoke.
Well, okay.
And we believe, based on the indications that we've seen finding Carissa, there's more spokes, which ties into the model, to the geological model. And we have two porphyry targets in the centre, which are the hub. So we're very excited about Deer Trail. Right, so we want to continue with our work drilling Deer Trail. And then we have a third property is the Larder property in Ontario. It sits on a wonderful location there, the Larder Cadillac Break. Historical production there is a couple of 100 million ounces of gold. And we have a unique piece of this Cadillac Larder Break that hasn't really been drilled at depth. And that's the opportunity we saw here. It's known within that area of Ontario and into Quebec that you really have to go below 500 metres to get the good stuff. And so that's what we're doing.
So it's in the Abitibi
Abitibi,
region.
on the edge of the Abitibi.
So very well infrastructure.
There are 27 processing facilities within a 90-kilometre radius of the mine.
Oh.
Right next to us is the Kerr-Addison mine, which is a gold mine that averaged 10.5 grams per tonne of gold, made 10.5 million ounces of gold in production.
Wow.
There's the old Cheminus mine actually on the Larder property. So there's a lot of infrastructure.
Okay. So you recently and surprisingly raised another 42 million US dollars and 23 million Canadian dollars.
Yep.
So what is the reason for that and what's the money for? And will this be the last financing for MAG Silver?
Well, I hope so. If things stick to plan, which should be. The reason why we raised is because we were delayed a year getting the power connected to this plant.
Yeah.
And we still had to fund the capital works and the operation at Juanicipio, which we did fund out of cash flow from processing some of the Juanicipio material through the Fresnillo plants. But we could see our cash balance getting low. And coming into a startup, commissioning, startup, ramp up, it's a high risk time in the life of a mine. And we didn't want, if we encounter problems, we didn't want to run the balance sheet too low. So there's a portion of the $40 million that we raised is for Juanicipio. And then once we get to 2024, we've got a very stable operation. We'll probably build up a cash war chest from the operation at Juanicipio. And then our business model is cash from Juanicipio funds the exploration properties and gives some left over to return to shareholders.
Yeah, that would be my next question. So in the longer term, could MAG shareholders expect a dividend maybe?
I'm one of them and I'm hoping I get one. So yes, I think we certainly recognise that our shareholders have been very loyal to us. Yep. They've hung by us for a long time. They hung by us for a year with a power delay. So when we have sufficient funds and we have a good line of sight of being able to sustain a return to shareholders, we will do it.
Okay. George, last question. What would you say makes MAG Silver unique in comparison to other producers, developers, or your peer group?
I think two things. The first one is our ability to explore properties in a very prudent, technical manner and find incredible deposits. Juanicipio is one of those. And that's the second element. We have a high grade, high margin, generational deposit, a real cornerstone asset. And I think that's what makes us different. I'll give you an example about how prudent we are. With the funds we just raised, we're not going out and spending those straight away, right? We're coming back, analysing our data, discussing what we've learned, working out, okay, where's the next hole we drill to give us the greatest chance of success? It's not a shotgun splatter, like drill there and hope for the best. No, right? We're very prudent on how we spend our money. And so we spend a lot of time stepping through the exploration process, which is why we've been successful.
Okay, sounds great to me,
Okay,
George.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much for this insight, and all the best for 2023 for the ramp-up phase and also for drilling and exploration work on the other projects.
Well, thank you very much, and all the best to you as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was a Commodity TV here from the MAG Silver lunch event, and yeah, you heard it. George Paspalas, the CEO, told us that ramp-up phase is getting well. Yeah, grades a little bit higher than expected. And yeah, much news to come in 2023. I would say check out the company, do your own research, and bye-bye here from Toronto.